What if everything you've been told about calories and weight loss is wrong? Imagine spending years struggling with diets only to discover the fundamental rules you've been following are based on outdated science. What if I told you that the diet advice you've been following for years might be the very thing preventing your success? That the experts who confidently prescribe calorie counting are building their recommendations on scientific quicksand? Are you ready to discover what the diet industry doesn't want you to know? Have you ever wondered why some people can eat endless amounts of food without gaining weight, while others struggle despite careful counting? The calorie counting model treats our bodies like simple machines. Put in 3,500 calories, gain a pound. But would you expect your car to run the same, whether you filled it with premium fuel or muddy water? So why do we believe our infinitely more complex bodies process all calories identically? Your body processes 100 calories of almonds dramatically differently than 100 calories of soda. So when you eat whole foods, your body expends energy during digestion, up to 30% of calories consumed. Then protein has the highest thermic effect, burning 20 to 30% of its calories during digestion, compared to carbohydrates, 5 to 10%, and fats, 0 to 3%. And what does this mean? So two people could eat identical calorie amounts, one from protein-rich foods, one from refined carbs, and experience completely different weight outcomes. Then the almonds also contain fiber that isn't fully absorbed, while soda offers nothing but sugar that rapidly spikes insulin and promotes fat storage. How many of your weight loss attempts have failed because you were counting numbers that don't actually matter? The inconvenient truth is that a calorie is not always a calorie. The source matters tremendously. When you carefully log every calorie in your tracking app, how accurate is that number really? Would you trust a measurement system with a built-in error rate of 20%? Because that's exactly what food labels have. Up to 20% difference from what's stated on the package is legally permitted. That 400-calorie meal could actually contain anywhere from 320 to 480 calories. You could be meticulously tracking calories that don't even exist. Did you know the entire system we use to calculate calories was developed in the late 1800s? The Atwater system calculates calories by literally burning food in a calorimeter, not by measuring how human bodies actually process nutrients. So, when you cook starches, you make more calories available for absorption. Then, when you eat nuts whole rather than ground, your body absorbs fewer calories. Does your calorie tracker account for these differences? Of course not. These variations create discrepancies of hundreds of calories daily, enough to completely derail weight management over time. If these numbers are this unreliable, what other aspects of calorie counting might be equally deceptive? Have you ever followed the exact same workout routine as a friend, only to see them shed pounds while you barely notice a difference? What if I told you the calorie counter on your treadmill is essentially lying to you? When that machine claims you've burned 300 calories, it's using a standardized formula based on averages. Research shows two people of identical weight can experience up to a 20% difference in calorie expenditure during the same activity, enough to completely erase your expected weight loss over time. Why is that happening? So, muscle mass percentage drastically affects your metabolic rate. Then genetic factors influence mitochondrial efficiency. Some people's cells extract energy more efficiently, burning fewer calories for identical work. And your body actively works against your efforts by becoming more efficient over time. The more you perform the same workouts, the fewer calories you'll burn doing them. This explains why cardio alone often becomes less effective for weight loss. Hormone levels, particularly thyroid hormones and cortisol, significantly impact how efficiently your body uses energy during exercise. Could your entire approach to exercise be fundamentally flawed because it's based on calorie calculations that don't apply to your unique physiology? Just eat less and move more sounds like common sense, but if it were that straightforward, would we have a global obesity epidemic? If weight loss were truly just about willpower, why do 95% of diets fail long-term? So when you suddenly reduce calories, your body doesn't passively accept the deficit. It launches a coordinated physiological rebellion. Then your resting energy expenditure dramatically decreases. Your body literally slows down to conserve energy. But that's just the beginning. Have you noticed how hunger becomes nearly unbearable when dieting? That's not weak willpower. It's your hormones staging a coup. Ghrelin skyrockets while leptin plummets, creating constant gnawing hunger. Even more insidious? So, your brain's reward circuitry changes, making you hypersensitive to food cues. Then that pizza commercial you barely noticed before now triggers intense cravings you can't ignore. And this is why most dieters regain weight. They're fighting against a biological response designed to prevent starvation, a system that evolved over millions of years. If your body is programmed to fight against calorie restriction, why are we still prescribing it as the primary solution? Does missing breakfast or lunch really help you lose weight faster? If skipping meals automatically led to weight loss, wouldn't intermittent fasting produce consistent results for everyone? So, when you skip meals, your body initiates a cascade of metabolic responses that sabotage your efforts. Your metabolism can actually slow as your body enters energy conservation mode, reducing the very calorie deficit you're trying to create. Then the blood sugar roller coaster doesn't just make you hungry, it fundamentally alters your food preferences. Research shows that when blood sugar drops, the brain's reward centers light up in response to high-calorie foods, while rational decision-making areas show decreased activity. And skipping meals biologically programs you to make poor food choices later. Could this explain why your diet breaks down in the evening after a day of being good? What if your willpower isn't failing? What if your biology is simply responding normally to perceived starvation? Emerging research suggests skipping daytime meals disrupts circadian rhythms that regulate metabolism, potentially leading to greater fat storage from evening meals. What if your attempts to create larger calorie deficits are actually programming your body to store more fat? Why do some meals leave you satisfied for hours, while others have you reaching for snacks soon after, despite similar calories? The answer reveals why calorie-focused diets so often fail. So, protein is the most satiating macronutrient, triggering greater release of fullness hormones and requiring more energy to digest. Fiber-rich foods expand in your stomach and slow digestion, prolonging satiety signals. Healthy fats delay stomach emptying, keeping you fuller longer. Then in contrast, refined carbohydrates cause rapid blood sugar spikes, followed by crashes that trigger hunger soon after eating. Liquid calories bypass many satiety mechanisms entirely, followed by crashes that trigger hunger soon after eating and feel hungry shortly afterward. And perhaps most fascinating is the emerging research on protein leverage, the theory that we eat until we satisfy our protein needs. This suggests that protein-deficient diets may lead to overconsumption as the body continues seeking adequate protein. Understanding these differences explains why 400 calories of chicken and vegetables will leave you satisfied longer than 400 calories of white bread, and why focusing on high-satiety foods rather than just calorie counts dramatically improves weight management success. Is your weight truly a simple matter of personal choice and discipline? The science reveals a truth so uncomfortable, it could completely transform how you view your weight struggles. We've been conditioned to believe that weight is simply about decisions. Eat less, move more. But what if your biology is actively fighting against your best efforts? What if the game is rigged from the start? So, twin and adoption studies reveal a startling truth. 40 to 70% of weight variation between individuals is genetically determined. Then your genes influence everything from appetite regulation to metabolism, fat storage patterns, and even food preferences. And how many times have you blamed yourself for lack of willpower when you were actually fighting against your genetic blueprint? After you lose weight, your body launches a coordinated biological counterattack. Hormonal changes trigger increased hunger and decreased energy expenditure that can persist for years. Your body literally fights to return to its perceived set-point weight. So, studies of the Biggest Loser contestants found that years after the show, their metabolisms remained suppressed and hunger hormones elevated compared to people who had never been obese. Then they had to eat significantly fewer calories just to maintain the same weight as someone who had never been heavy. What about factors completely beyond individual control? Food deserts, socioeconomic status, sleep quality, and endocrine-disrupting chemicals all profoundly impact weight regulation. If weight is so strongly influenced by biology and environment, how do we create approaches that work with these realities rather than pretending they don't exist? When you drastically cut calories, you're making a trade-off that might not be worth it. Can a diet be simultaneously low in calories yet nutritionally complete? Many restrictive diets fail to provide essential micronutrients. Studies show that people on diets below 1,500 calories often develop deficiencies in iron, calcium, magnesium, and B vitamins over time. So your body requires minimum amounts of protein to maintain muscle mass and essential fats for hormone production and brain health. When these needs aren't met, your metabolism may downregulate, ironically making weight loss harder. Then severe calorie restriction can trigger elevated cortisol levels, increasing inflammation and potentially leading to muscle breakdown. It can also disrupt thyroid function, further suppressing metabolism. And perhaps most concerning is the impact on gut health. Very low-calorie diets often lack adequate fiber and diversity of plant foods, potentially reducing beneficial gut bacteria that influence everything from immunity to mood and weight regulation. Are you sacrificing long-term health for short-term weight loss? A truly healthy approach focuses on nutrient density rather than calorie counts alone, ensuring your body receives everything it needs to function optimally. Is weight gain inevitable as you get older? Many attribute middle-age spread to a slowing metabolism, but recent research challenges this widely accepted belief. A groundbreaking 2021 study analyzing data from over 6,400 people found that metabolism remains remarkably stable between ages 20 and 60. The real metabolic slowdown doesn't begin until after 60, and even then progresses at only about 0.7% per year. So what actually changes with age is body composition, the ratio of muscle to fat. Without resistance training, adults lose 3 to 8% of muscle mass per decade after 30, reducing calorie burning capacity. Then hormonal changes, particularly during menopause for women, can also promote central fat storage. And lifestyle factors play enormous roles too. Decreased physical activity, increased stress, reduced sleep quality, and convenience-based food choices all contribute to weight changes commonly attributed to slowing metabolism. Are there any good news? So, regular strength training can preserve or even increase muscle mass at any age. Then protein intake becomes more important, with research suggesting older adults need 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight daily to maintain muscle. Are you accepting age-related weight gain as inevitable when it's actually largely preventable? Understanding these factors empowers you to take targeted action rather than resigning yourself to weight gain as you age. We've all heard warnings about nighttime eating, but is there scientific truth behind this common advice? The evidence shows that when you eat matters, but not in the way most people think. Total calorie intake over 24 hours remains the primary factor in weight change. However, our circadian rhythms do influence how efficiently we process food at different times. Studies indicate insulin sensitivity decreases in the evening, meaning identical meals consumed at night versus morning may result in higher blood sugar and insulin responses. Our digestive efficiency also varies throughout the day, with evidence suggesting greater fat oxidation earlier. So, what's often misunderstood is that late-night eating is problematic primarily because it tends to involve mindless snacking while watching TV or responding to stress, not because your body magically turns all calories consumed after 8 p.m. into fat. Then research examining shift workers provides valuable insights. Those working night shifts experience metabolic disruptions not because they eat at night per se, but because they're eating out of alignment with their body's natural circadian rhythms. And could the timing of your meals be undermining your weight management efforts even if your calorie count looks perfect? The real advice should be to ensure most of your calories align with your periods of greatest physical activity and to maintain consistent eating patterns that respect your body's natural cycles. Can you really eat unlimited amounts of healthy foods without gaining weight? This myth has led many people to frustration when their clean eating doesn't produce expected results. So, nutritious whole foods like nuts, avocados, olive oil, and unprocessed grains offer tremendous health benefits, but they still contain calories that contribute to energy balance. 4 tablespoons of almond butter provide about 400 calories, regardless of its organic or natural status. Then the real advantage of whole foods isn't calorie exemption, but rather their effects on satiety, metabolism, and overall health. Fiber-rich, nutrient-dense foods naturally regulate appetite and improve metabolic function, often making calorie counting unnecessary because they naturally limit overconsumption. However, it's entirely possible to consume excess calories even from nutritious sources. This explains why some people hit plateaus despite eating only clean foods. Portion awareness remains relevant. But aren't you overlooking quantity while focusing exclusively on quality? So the most balanced approach recognizes that both food quality and quantity matter. Then focus primarily on nutrient-dense whole foods while maintaining awareness of energy balance through mindful attention to hunger, satiety, and portion sizes. If long-term weight management were simply about willpower, would we see 80 to 95% of diets fail within 5 years? So, research consistently shows that biological factors play enormous roles in weight regulation. After weight loss, hormone changes increase hunger signals, ghrelin, while decreasing satiety hormones, leptin, PYY. These changes can persist for years, meaning a formerly overweight person may need to contend with stronger hunger signals than someone who has never been overweight. Then additionally, your brain becomes more responsive to food cues after weight loss, making food more attention-grabbing and tempting. Studies using functional MRI scans show heightened activation in reward centers when viewing food images after significant weight loss, and resting metabolic rate often decreases beyond what would be expected from changes in body composition alone, a phenomenon called adaptive thermogenesis. This metabolic adaptation can persist long-term, requiring permanently lower calorie intake to maintain weight loss. These biological responses aren't character flaws, they're survival mechanisms designed to prevent starvation. But how much harder have you been on yourself than you should have been? Understanding this shifts the conversation from moral judgment to compassionate, science-based strategies for working with rather than against your biology. So where does this leave us? If many common beliefs about calories and weight loss are myths, what approach actually works? So first, there's no one-size-fits-all solution, because we all have different genetic predispositions, metabolic responses, and life circumstances. Then focus on building habits that work with your biology, not against it. Choose nutrient-dense, satisfying foods that support metabolic health and natural appetite regulation. Engage in physical activity that builds or maintains muscle mass. Prioritize adequate sleep and stress management, which profoundly influence hunger hormones and metabolism. And shift from seeing weight management as a moral challenge to understanding it as a complex biological process requiring compassion, patience, and personalized approaches. If you found this information helpful, hit subscribe for more evidence-based nutrition content that cuts through the myths. Leave a comment sharing which myth surprised you most. I'd love to hear your thoughts.